Hello and welcome to the class. My name's Paddy. Today we're going to be talking about predicting answers in the IELTS reading test. If you have any questions for us after you watch this class, you can click on the chat icon which is at the top of your page here. If you click on that icon, you will be able to send us a message with any questions that you have. This is the first class of 2 classes, and this video will last just over 20 minutes. First, we're going to look at how to predict answers from the context, and then we're going to do some prediction practice. So by the end of this video, you will be more aware of how to predict your answers in the reading test. During this video, there will be some questions for you to answer. You can find these questions below the video. I will tell you when you need to answer these questions, and I'll give you about 10 to 15 seconds to do so. Okay, let's get started. Here is a title of an IELTS text. What do you think the topic of this text is? Is it A, audience numbers at cinemas, B, money and movies, or C, discovering lost movies? Look at the first question below this video and choose the correct option. So this text will probably be about B, money and movies. In the word crowdfunding, you might recognize the word funding. This is related to providing money. And of course, film is a synonym of movie. So we know that this text is probably going to talk about economics and money, and it's going to talk about the film industry. As well as the title, some texts have a subtitle or subheading. This is a very short paragraph which gives a little bit more of an explanation about the topic of the text. Let's read this one. Crowdfunding, the practice of obtaining donations to fund a project, is becoming an increasingly popular way for artists to finance their work. We consider the process from independent filmmaker April Lambert's perspective. So from here, we can see a definition of crowdfunding, which is about obtaining donations to fund a project. So this must be a movie project. This is becoming more and more popular as a way for artists to fund their work or finance their work. This article will be from the perspective of a filmmaker whose name is April Lambert. Okay, now we have some idea of the context of this text. Now we should look at the questions. Here is a question from this text. We can see that this is a sentence completion question, and there is no word list, which means we must take our answer from the text. So that will be one word or more than one word from the text. We must copy it directly without changing the form or the spelling. First, let's read the instructions. Complete the sentence below. Choose no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. No more than 2 words tells us that if we write 3 words, we will get 0. 1 word or 2 words could be correct here. Now, let's look at the context around the space. So we have a space here, and before it, we have the word some. So to build up some, and then the space. Using this information, what is the word class of the answer? The word class could be a noun, for example, accompany. It could be a verb, for example, deliver, or it could be an adjective, for example, essential. It may also be an adverb, but this is less common. Which of these do you think this gap is going to be? Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct option, A, B, or C. This answer is going to be A, a noun. So after the word some, we would expect a noun or a noun phrase. A noun phrase could be made up of an adjective and a noun. So this whole phrase will be a noun, but remember, there could be an adjective before it. Okay, so we know the word class, but there's many, many kinds of noun. What type of noun could this be? It could be A, an uncountable noun, such as information or water. A singular countable noun, like camera or person. A plural countable noun, like mistakes or people. Or a proper noun, like Hollywood or Samsung. Which of these do you think the word in this space could be? In this case, it could be two of them. Look at the next question below this video and choose the two correct options. So after the word some, we might expect A, an uncountable noun, like some information. Or it could be C, a plural countable noun, like some people or some mistakes. So the first part of prediction is about identifying what kind of word to expect grammatically. Now we should think about what kind of word would suit the context. Let's read the question again and think about what words would make sense in the context. The first step in obtaining crowdfunding is the creation of a promotional video to build up some gap for the project among the potential backers. So I noticed that before we have the word build up. So we're going to build up something for the project among the potential backers. Now, maybe we don't know what backers means, but we could guess that it's people with that ER ending. So what might we want to build up among people for a project? Let's think about some possibilities. Awareness, excitement, money, houses, actors, or interest. Which three of those make sense in the context of this sentence? Look at the next question below this video and choose the three possible options. So we could build up awareness, we could build up excitement, and we could build up interest. The other three options don't fit with the word build up and among the potential backers. So now we have an idea of the type of word we should be looking for in the text. Those three options, awareness, excitement, and interest, will not necessarily be the correct answer, but they fit into the category of the kind of word we should be searching for in the text. Before we look at the text, we need to know what part of the text to focus on. We don't want to read the whole text in detail just for this question. So we should underline some keywords in the question so we know where to look in the text. Here we have the same question, but two different students have underlined keywords, student A and student B. Which student do you think has underlined more useful keywords for finding the correct section of the text? Look at the next question below this video and select the correct option, student A or student B. Here, student B has underlined more useful keywords. The first step, so we know we're looking for something talking about a process. Obtaining crowdfunding, we could expect to see a synonym of this in the text. Obtaining, we have getting, for example. The creation of a promotional video. So this is an important noun in the text, and creation may be a verb in the text. Of course, build up is especially important because it's the verb that our answer is the object to. For the project and among potential backers. So we're going to be looking for a part of the text that contains all or most of these keywords as synonyms or paraphrasings. Using those keywords, I have found this section of the text. I've noticed that it matches a few of my keywords. Procedure. This makes me think of a process. That reminds me of first step. Promotional video. Well, that's exactly the same as the question here. Often, it will not even have to paraphrase anything. Obtaining crowdfunding, we can see in receiving money. Creation is similar to produce. Project is talking about the yet to be made film. Potential backers doesn't seem to be mentioned anywhere. That's okay. You probably won't find all of your keywords in the relevant section of the text, but I think there are enough matches here. Now, our really important keyword was build up. Can we find a synonym in the text? Generate. Now, let's think back to our predictions from earlier. We predicted awareness, excitement, or interest. Now, I don't see these in the text, but can we find any related words that might go in this gap? Look at the next question below this video. Can you write the word from the text that you think could go in this gap? Remember, you should copy it exactly as it appears in the text. In this text, the word enthusiasm would go in the space. So build up some enthusiasm for the project. Can you see how using those keyword matches and already having predicted the answer gives me confidence that this will be correct? Now I'm going to show you some examples of questions from completely different texts. I would like you to practice using grammar and context to predict what a logical answer would be. Number 1. After a long period of planning, the bridge was eventually constructed in... So this is a question about a different text. What could go in the space here? Would it be A, Venice, B, 1534, or C, the river? Think about the context and the grammar and decide what is the most logical prediction for this gap. Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct option. The most logical prediction here would be 1534, the year. Venice could go in the space, but because of the phrases after a long period of planning and eventually, I suspect that this sentence is really focused on time. It's stressing that this bridge was built in this year after several years before it when it was being planned. The river doesn't really make sense. You don't construct a bridge in a river, you construct a bridge over a river. So pay attention to things like prepositions. 2. Conservationists say that industrial activity is causing damage to birds. What would be a good prediction for this gap? A, habitat, B, home, or C, on Scary Island? Look at the next question below this video and choose the option which is the best prediction for this gap. The best prediction here is probably habitat. We don't normally talk about a bird's home unless maybe we're being poetic about it. The correct word for where a bird lives is its habitat. IELTS texts are often scientific in nature, so they're probably going to use the correct word. Home could go grammatically, but it doesn't sound as good. On Scary Island doesn't work grammatically because we have this apostrophe S. So it's a possessive, it must be followed by a noun, not a preposition. 3. The designers added a quick release button for gap the case easily. I'd like you to think about the grammatical form of the word that could go here. A, remove, B, removal, or C, removing. Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct option. The correct word form here is removing. After for, we're going to have a noun, or in this case, an ing verb. Removal is a noun, but we would have to say for the removal of the case easily. So that's not an option in this case. Remove is a base infinitive, and that would come after the preposition to. 4. The team of American archaeologists discovered 3 ancient artifacts made in, could it be A, wood, B, the USA, or C, Europe? Think about the most logical answer that could go in this gap. Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct option. So the most logical answer would be Europe. Wood doesn't work. We don't say made in wood, we say made of wood. Now, the USA and Europe are both possible answers, but the word archaeologist, ancient, and artifact makes me think that these objects must be very, very old. The USA is quite a new country, only 250 years old or so. So Europe as a continent is much older. So here I'm using my knowledge and a little bit of logic. It's not going to test you too much, but it's a good prediction to make. That is the end of class 1. Now it's time to watch class 2 and then do the extra training and practice activities on this topic. Remember, if you have any questions for us, you can click on that chat icon at the top of your page there, send us a message with any questions that you have. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to the class. My name's Paddy. Today, we're going to be talking about predicting answers in the IELTS reading test. After you watch this class, if you have any questions for us, remember that you can click on the chat icon at the top of your page here. If you click on that icon, you will be able to send us a message with any questions that you have. This is the second class of 2 classes, and this video will last around 20 minutes. In this video, we're going to focus on question types where you have to complete a gap. So by the end of this video, you will be more prepared to do that type of question. During this class, there will be some questions for you to answer. You can find these below the video. I will tell you when you need to answer them, and I'll give you about 10 to 15 seconds to do so. Okay, let's get started. In every reading test of the IELTS exam, there will be a question type where you have to complete gaps or fill gaps in a sentence or in some notes. In some types, there is a word list. This means you must choose one of the words from a list to complete the gap. If there is no word list, then the answers must come from the text. This is more common. This means that you must copy the answers directly from the text. You do not change the verb form, you do not change the plural of the noun, and the spelling must be the same as it is in the text. Any change to the word and you will lose the marks. It's very important in these types of questions to read the instructions. The instructions will tell you how many words you can write. If you write more words than the instructions say you can use, you will get 0 for that answer. Usually it will say something like, write no more than 2 words and or a number. This means you could write 2 words and a number, or you could just write a number, or you could just write 1 word, or you could write 1 word and a number. Questions where you have to fill a gap in a sentence or in notes will usually be paraphrasings of the text itself. This means you need to identify the section of the text that it's referring to and identify the word that is missing from the question. Here is an example of this type of question. In this case, we need to complete a summary. A summary will take a slightly larger section of the text and summarize what it is saying in fewer words. Summaries will use correct grammar and full sentences. The important thing to do for summaries is to identify where the summary starts in the text and where the summary ends. Like I said, the section of the text will be much bigger than the summary itself. Here is another type of question. In this case, we need to complete notes. Notes will not be in complete sentences and they will not use full grammar. This means words like articles and prepositions and maybe verbs like to be will often be missing from the sentences. This type includes bullet points, so when you have a list of items, a table, just like in this case, or a flowchart, which is a series of connected boxes or connected bubbles showing a process or a procedure. One useful thing to notice with bullet points and tables, like in this example, is that you will often see headings. These headings can give you important information and can help you when you're trying to predict your answers. So here we can see that one side is talking about Kickstarter and the other side is talking about Indiegogo. Maybe the text will explain what those two things are, but we should be focused on the part of the text that deals with Kickstarter for this question and the part of the text that deals with Indiegogo for this question. And here is the third example of this type of question. Sometimes they will just give you sentences. Similar to summaries, these sentences will just paraphrase parts of the text. Sentences use full grammar, but you will never see a word list with sentences. Some questions will give you a word list. This means that you must not take your answer from the text. Instead, your answer will be one of these options. The options will begin with a letter, and you should write the letter as your answer. When we look at word lists, we can often use the information to help predict our answers. One thing to focus on is the word class. Look at these words and think about the word class. The word class is whether something is a noun, a verb, an adjective, or sometimes an adverb. Look at this list and decide what is the most common word class in this list. Look at the first question below this video and choose the correct option: noun, verb, adjective, or adverb. The most common word class in this list is adjective. The majority of these words are adjectives, but importantly, not all of them are adjectives. Which two words in this list are not adjectives? Look at the next question below this video and choose the two options which are not adjectives. So in this list, the two words which are not adjectives are A, input, and G, funding. Both of these words are nouns. Now, to me, this suggests that the majority of our answers and a majority of those gaps will be adjectives, but probably one of the question's answer will be a noun, and we know it's going to be A or G. So already we've narrowed down the possibilities. Here we see a list of 7 words. This tells me that there will probably be 4 questions. Now we're going to look at an example and see how we can use prediction and the word list to help us get the answer. As we said before, the majority of these options are adjectives, but there are 2 nouns. So let's quickly look at the context of these 4 questions and try to identify which one could be a noun. Let's look at the words around each question. Davidson and Poor's research shows that something people are usually more successful on crowdfunding platforms as they engage with their backers more. These fans then see themselves as being more gap in the project and enjoy the feeling of participating alongside the movie makers. Although the idea of crowdfunding may make creators feel gap, it offers an opportunity to gain more blank from fans. So focusing on those words that we've highlighted there, which question do you think is going to have a noun as an answer? Look at the next question below this video and choose the question which will have a noun for an answer out of 4, 5, 6, or 7. Question 7 will definitely have a noun for the answer. Gain more something from fans. So especially that from fans suggests that they're going to get something from their fans. Now it's got to be a thing, a noun. 4 comes before people, which suggests it's going to be an adjective that describes those people. 5, we have more, just like in question 7, but here the verb is be, to be more, it's going to be an adjective. Number 6, feel, well, adjectives of emotion often come after feel. So we know that questions 4, 5, and 6 will all be adjectives. But again, we can focus a little bit more in detail on the words around those gaps to give us some clues. Let's look at number 5. We can see that it comes before the word in. Which of these adjectives commonly comes before the word in? Have a think about adjective B, C, D, E, or F, and think which one could come before in. Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct options. There are 2 possibilities. With these adjectives, we can be interested in something, or we can be involved in something. Outgoing, determined, and intimidated don't work with in. We can also use the structure of the sentence to help us get an idea of the meaning. Let's look at the final sentence. This final sentence contains 6 and 7. And it starts with the word although. Although introduces a contrast between 2 different ideas. So maybe one of them is positive and the other is negative. Let's look at the second half of the sentence. It offers an opportunity to gain more something from fans in the future. Thinking about the context and the meaning of that second half, do you think the first half of the sentence, containing question 7, will have a positive meaning or a negative meaning? Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct option. Will that first half be positive or negative? The first half of this sentence will probably be negative. The second half contains the phrase gain. If you gain something, that's usually beneficial for you. This word although means that there will be a contrast. So the first half is maybe something that is not good, and the second half is something that benefits you. So let's think about the adjectives B, C, D, E, F. Remember, B and C are still both possible. Think about those adjectives and which one usually has a negative meaning. Look at the next question below this video and decide which of the adjectives from the word list commonly has a negative meaning. Choose the correct option. Of this list, the word intimidated has a negative meaning. Intimidated is the idea of being frightened or scared by something that seems bigger or more powerful than you. The other adjectives generally have quite positive meanings. So already we can be quite confident that question 6 is intimidated, but we can't be 100% sure until we check the text. So before we read the text, we need to identify some keywords so that we can search for the correct section of the text. Let's underline those keywords now. Davidson and Paul. These are proper nouns. They're the names of people. You should always underline these because it will help you find their names in the text. We're talking about their research, and it shows that a certain type of people are usually more successful on crowdfunding platforms. We know that this text is about crowdfunding from class 1, so we don't need to underline that because it will be everywhere in the text. But something about being more successful, and the adverb usually is always good because when we have an adverb of frequency, there is often a synonym in the text. As they engage with their backers more. So this is about the level of engagement with the people that fund their movies. Let's underline a few more keywords. These fans, so we're talking about the backers there, but we might see the word fans in the text. They see themselves as being more something in the project and enjoy the feeling of participating. So we're going to be looking for a synonym or paraphrasing of participating. And it talks about the opportunity to gain more something from fans in the future. So we're going to be looking for a reference to the future there. Okay, now we're going to find the correct section of the text. So here I've found the word success, as well as this work best for. This links to the idea of being successful at this. We've also, perhaps more importantly, got the researchers Davidson and Paul. So those names are in this paragraph. Tends to. Tends to relates to usually, means it's a common trend. We've also got interaction with their funders. To me, this is connected to engage with their backers. So I can see here that we've got enough information to be sure we're looking at the right section. We should start by doing question 4. The reason we should start with the first question is because once we've done the first one, we can remove an answer from the word list. So now we have fewer options for the remaining 3, which makes it easier. Also, when we have the location of the answer in the text, we know that the other answers will come after that. The answers always go in the same order as the text. So now that we've got the correct location in the text, let's just read the question again to help us identify the answer. Davidson and Poor's research shows that something people are usually more successful on crowdfunding platforms as they engage with their backers more. So it's saying that a certain type of person is more often more successful on these platforms because they engage with the people who pay for their projects more than other people. Before, we identified this sentence as having a lot of matches with our keywords. Researchers Davidson and Poor found the crowdfunding model tends to work best for people with extroverted personalities who commit to a high level of interaction with their funders. So that idea of engaging with the fans. So we're going to look for a word which describes the people who are more successful. Can you find an adjective or a word which describes the type of people who are more successful from this sentence? Look at the next question below this video and type the word you see from the text. You must copy this word exactly as it is in the text. So this sentence tells us that people with extroverted personalities. So it's talking about extroverted people. So that's going to be the key word there. But remember, this is a word list question. So we're not going to copy this. We're going to use one of the word lists. Let's look back at the word list. Which of these words is a synonym of extroverted? Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct option, which is a synonym of extroverted. Out of those options, the synonym for extroverted is D, outgoing. Even if you didn't know the meaning of outgoing or extroverted, you could probably guess that it's not the same as the other options, so it must be outgoing. So the answer to question 4 is D. We can apply the same process to the other part of the text. Remember, our answers to questions 5, 6, and 7 are going to come after the sentence we've just read. So we can start reading after funders. Let's go back to the question and identify some keywords again. These fans see themselves as being more something in the project and enjoy the feeling of participating alongside the movie makers. So it's talking about fans having a certain feeling of being more something in the project itself, and they enjoy this feeling of participating. So let's look and see if we can find any matches. Well, in the next few sentences, I can see the word participatory. This links to participating in the question. So let's read that sentence. As Professor Paul Booth explains, crowdfunding generates a true participatory culture by allowing fans to become invested in the idea of a film, not just the final product. Enabling film aficionados to have that starstruck sensation of rubbing shoulders with their idols. Some of you may have noticed that there is an adjective in that sentence and it goes with in. We can be quite confident that this will be our answer, invested in. But remember, we're not copying from the text, we are using a word list. Interested in and involved in. Which one do you think is a better synonym for invested in? In this case, the answer would be involved. So question 5 is C, involved. You would write C in your answer. Now let's look at question 6. We've only got 5 options remaining, A, B, E, F, and G. We know it can't be A and G because those are nouns. So it's going to be B, E, and F. We're already pretty confident that the answer is F. So let's look at the text and see if we can confirm that. Let's look for a synonym or related word to intimidated. Before, we saw that that sentence finished with the word idle. So let's keep reading after that word. First setting foot in the unknown world of crowdfunding may be daunting for filmmakers like April. Can we see a synonym of the word intimidated? Well, if we see the word unknown world, this may be daunting for filmmakers. Think about what unknown things make you feel. You might be able to guess the meaning of the word daunting there. Daunting is a synonym of intimidating. So, filmmakers may feel intimidated would be correct here. Now let's look at question 7. It offers an opportunity to gain more something from fans in the future. Well, let's look for future in the text. In the text, we can see who will contribute to her future projects in this new and exciting creative cyberspace. So this is telling us that the fans will feel they can contribute to her future projects as part of this creative process. Our options, as we decided, were A or G. Those are the two nouns. Looking back at the text, do you think this contribution is only money, or could it be other things too? From this phrase, creative cyberspace, to me that suggests that the fans are giving a contribution which is more than just money. So in this case, the word input could be the correct answer. That is the end of class 2. Now it's time to do the extra training and practice activities on this topic. Remember, if you have any questions, you can click on that chat icon at the top of your page there. Clicking on that icon will let you send us a message with any questions that you have. Thank you for listening.